All right, I'm super pumped here today. Divorced Dads of America, the rebuild. I got Ryan here, O'Connor. What's awesome about Ryan is I found him online. I found him literally with his content and what he was doing. And while that's important and that's awesome and that's great, I want to read some things, some stuff that I wrote because, dads, I want you to hear this story. And a lot of you guys, you think that you have to be fully healed before you can rebuild, and that's not how life actually works. I know some of you are in the middle of divorce. I know some of you have just gotten through it. Maybe you're dealing with health issues. Maybe you're fighting fear, financial pressure, uncertainty of what's happening next. And I just want to say that today's conversation here with Ryan, it's not about arriving, it's about choosing to build anyway. And Ryan's story is really interesting. And I believe that most of these stories are really interesting and unique. He's a military vet, a dad, and a man who's had to rebuild more than once. And he'll tell. We'll jump into some of that rebuild of what that looked like and what he's doing now. He battles epilepsy, and it affected marriage. It's affecting his son. It's affecting all areas of his life. Like I said, he's still in the process. He's healing, but that's why this conversation matters. It's not always about. I think we sometimes think that we have to have it all figured out before we can do something. And so those that are you're in that moment, you're in that space. This is the one for you, man. This is the one where I believe that you're going to hear something and something's going to be nudged. And I ask every listener, man, open your heart and open your mind and just say, hey, I want to hear something. I want to learn something new to rebuild myself, my agency, my income, my identity when things aren't going your way. And Ryan, so I'm glad you're here, dude. I know you're in Florida. We were just talking about the crisis in Florida with the weather right now. It's a crisis. And before we get into all of that, I think I just really want to start with something that is so different for most of the dads that you're going through, particularly. And I want to talk about this epilepsy journey. And the question I have for you is when epilepsy entered your life, what part of your identity collapsed first?
Well, at 36, the last thing I expected was to start having seizures. And really, the not knowing what seizures were, what the heck was going on, and being diagnosed with epilepsy was where do I go from here? And within 6 months, it destroyed the relationship I was in at that time. I was actually engaged to be married. It destroyed because of the medications. So I had to, that was one of the many rebuilds of my life was that one right there was having to move out and having to figure out how to start over again. So that was really the beginning of the epilepsy journey was, and that was in 2011. Yeah, 2011. I'm trying to remember all these dates. um, but 2011 had my first seizures, and if you can imagine just laying in bed with your fiance or girlfriend or whatever at the time and going through and having 10 seizures in a row, which that's what happened to me, and like not knowing what the heck is going on. Next thing you know, you got paramedics sticking needles in you and they're rushing you, and somebody's like, "Oh, you have epilepsy," like nonchalantly, and it's just like, "What is epilepsy and what do I do?" And the person I am automatically went into research mode, and that's pretty much where I've been since is in research mode is trying to understand why I developed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that we talked a little bit about that. So in this journey for you, you're about to get married. You have this, epilepsy, this moment that just shakes everything. What scared you the most? Was it the illness? Was it this loss of independence? What was the most scary moment for you there?
Thinking I was gonna, well, besides thinking I was gonna die, the scariest thing was nothing is ever going to be the same, and nothing is going to be able to I didn't even realize about like I wasn't supposed to be driving at the time. So like the independent side thing didn't really kick in just yet. But the how fast it destroyed the relationship and how much and it wasn't even I think so much the seizures that destroyed them, but it was the medications and the way that changed the whole relationship because of the mental state. I couldn't do what I was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and for those that you know, because you've had this relationship and those people that don't know what epilepsy is or what that's like and what that's done. Let's fast forward into the relationship now and your son. And what did you do now? How long ago was that? And you get married and what was that like for you? What was that journey like, dude?
I got I got married in 2014, and it was a fairly rushed decision to get married because my wife got pregnant. I pulled the old school, oh, she got pregnant, let's go get married, and not really knowing what I was getting myself into. And I'm not out to badmouth or anything like that, but there was a whole host of things that I should have seen that had I had been clear-headed, it would have stopped me from getting married. But we were married for almost 10 years. We're actually just finalizing the divorce actually next at the end of this month because she keeps dragging things out. It
Hmm.
was supposed to be over at the end of October, but now we're 4 months later. So it's still an ongoing process. And the number one thing for me, as I talk with you about, is making sure my son's okay.
Yeah.
And he's 10, actually he's 11, sorry, and he's only actually seen one of my big, what used to be called grand mals are now called tonic-clonic seizures. But he's seen my myoclonic jerks, and those weren't such a big issue with him. But for him to be by himself
Yeah.
and see a tonic-clonic seizure, and this only happened a couple months ago here at my apartment, he turned into such a rock star.
Mm.
And that was so awesome, like this super proud dad moment of like knowing how strong he could actually be and knowing that I've been able to raise a kid that could handle things like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, and walk us through what was that experience like, dude? Do you remember
Well,
it?
I don't remember it because mostly I'm unconscious, but
Yeah.
as I was coming to, hearing my son tell the police, "Stop doing what you're doing," was probably the funniest thing I've ever heard. Because he was telling the police what to do
Yeah.
and telling the paramedics, "You're not supposed to do that for somebody with a seizure."
Yeah.
It was priceless. And the police actually gave him a challenge coin, which is like a little coin that like says like I don't know, like a ward type thing for because they actually were about to tase me because they thought I was on drugs.
Mm.
And the thing is with I'm 6 foot and I weigh 220 pounds. I'm not a small person by any means. So the big problem with that is 99% of people with, or I should say 99% of all police and paramedics aren't really trained for seizures and or like autism type stuff.
Yeah.
So if you go through, you come out of a state in what's called a post-lytic state where you don't know what's going on, you can't really control yourself, so you can't understand what people are doing. For him, my son, at 11 years old, to be like, he's just going through this, he'll be fine. Just make sure he doesn't hit his head. Just make sure he doesn't do that. Make sure he doesn't grab anything. Is that is And again, I wasn't fully with it, but I was enough to understand what he was saying. Just goes to show that kids really do watch and listen. And that is really a critical thing.
Yeah, dude, that's a powerful moment, man. That's pretty big. Um, so you're in this, you have this this happen. I guess for you, what's fatherhood feel like when you're living with uncertainty every day?
There's so many different things. I can't drive, so I have to figure out how to get transportation. I have to figure out how to get around. I have to figure out how to get medications. The simple things of taking like things for granted, like getting a cup of coffee. I have to make sure I cool it down before I put anything in that cup of coffee or before I drink that cup of coffee. Because if I have a seizure, I could throw that in my face and I'd burn myself,
Yeah.
which people are like, I wouldn't think about that.
Yeah.
Or going to take a shower. Most of the time I have to sit down and take a shower, so if I have a seizure, I don't fall, which again, people don't stop to think about. Like, it's all these little things that you have to, especially living on my own, it's so many extra things you have to add on and make sure that things are like rounded corners and stuff like that, just so that if you do fall, you're not going to split your skull on whatever. So it really eye-opening. At the same time, it's also very isolating,
Yeah.
and that's the big part is the isolating and making sure you don't stay isolated and reaching out to people like yourself or reaching out to a church or your neighbors or a pastor, whatever it might be, just to say, hey, come check on me. Hey,
Yeah.
just want to, it really is a difference between complete hell on earth and thriving.
Yeah. Yeah, man. You hit a lot of it there with, the isolation, right? I know guys that are listening, they have isolation that they ultimately are choosing. And I think in this case for you, it's the isolation is almost a way of life for you because of some of these other things that you don't have is what I'm hearing. However, what I do love to hear, Ryan, is in your story that, you do get transportation to get what you need to do and get where you need to go. And you're working and you're doing things. And we'll talk about the business side here in a bit, but you're not just, you're not just staying put and doing nothing. You're obviously like you said before, leading your son, instructing and training and guiding. And I guess for you in this state, what do you do to manage the fear for yourself?
There's no way to really say one thing or another. It's literally people say like it's day by day.
Yeah.
I can't say day by day. It's hour by hour for
Yeah.
me because and sometimes it even goes down to minute by minute, and I don't know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next, especially with the epilepsy because there most people with epilepsy have what's called an aura, which is a premonition, like a sort of a premonition thing of like a seizure's
Mm,
coming on. I'm one of the like 0.5% of people out of all the people with epilepsy. Just to give you an idea of how many people with epilepsy in America, there's 6 million plus people in America with active epilepsy.
wow.
Um, but I'm out of that 6 million people, I'm in the small half a percentage that don't have an aura. So I could be talking to you and it's that quick, it starts. And I wouldn't know it's happening until it's too late.
Yeah. Wow. So that's even more rare, even more difficult for you to manage because you don't have this like little bit of an on ramp to get to where it happens. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
Okay. Man, okay, let's dive into some of these things for you because, you are a man of action. You're doing things. I guess for you, at what point did you realize waiting wasn't an option for you in your life? Because many guys could have just, just sat there and did nothing.
When when COVID hit in 2020, and at the same time I was in for brain surgery, where I ended up having three separate brain surgeries. I was in the hospital for over 30 days. Everybody's running around with COVID, and it was July of 2020, June and July of 2020, and literally the height of COVID,
Yeah.
and everybody's running around with all this like protective gear and everything. And I'm in there getting my head shaved and getting literally getting my head carved open. Um, and I went through a stereo EEG, which was part of the surgeries where they actually drill holes in your head and put probes into your brain, which I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy for pain wise.
Yeah.
And then they ended up having to cut a hole in the side of my head and they put an implant in, and I got probes basically going into my thalamus and my hippocampus area, and it's supposed to work like a pacemaker to stop the seizures. Unfortunately, like the 25 medications I've tried, the implant works 1% of the time,
Wow.
and the medications work less than a quarter% of the time. So, with most people with epilepsy, the average is after two medications, the chances of medication working is less than 0.000 something percent
Yeah.
of it actually working. And so now I'm on 25 medications that I've tried. So it's like I'm just popping pills for no apparent reason at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. So what, I guess, what did you realize that you just couldn't wait?
Realizing life is fragile
Yeah.
and I need to do something to make sure my son was okay, make sure my family was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is that the drive then? Is that what's keeping you going, dude, every day?
Making my son is absolutely my drive. Making sure he's okay. When I last year when I sold my house, I sold the house to make sure I got out of debt, and also because I got the house in 2012, and being a veteran, I got a ridiculously low interest rate, so the mortgage payments were next to nothing.
Yeah.
But the problem is the rise of maintenance. Maintenance costs were literally equaling my mortgage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I had to sell all my tools because I could no longer do the maintenance because I can't handle power tools anymore with the epilepsy. Another thing I have to worry about. So I sold all my tools, sold the house, and it was like renting's just a smarter option at this point.
Yeah.
And I was able to get myself out of debt and stuff like that. But it all comes back to my son
Yeah.
and finding a way to make sure I can do whatever I can to protect him.
Yeah. Is there a daily, like I know a lot of dads and a lot of guys I work with, there's, we sort of create this roadmap and, this path to walk on even when we don't know what the next step may be, or we have phrases that we'll say or affirmations or declarations or anything like that. Do you have anything that you use in that regard to keep you in line each day to remember that?
Um, Absolutely, absolutely. And it's people are like, I actually talked to my mom about this the other day, and she was like, those are some of the weirdest things in the world to say thank you for. And I get up, and the minute I wake up, I say thank you for another day.
Yeah.
Because even though any one of us could drop at any moment, having a medical condition, you don't know what's going to come or go.
Yeah.
Being able to walk to the bathroom, I say thank you for letting me walk to the bathroom. Thank you for letting me brush my teeth without a seizure. Thank you for letting me go pour a cup of coffee without a seizure. Thank you for letting me cook my breakfast without a like all these things as I'm doing it, I say thank you for letting me do this. Thank you for letting me do that. And it's about 20 to 30 different things like which everybody seems to take for granted. And it's things you don't even think about. It's like I was able to tie my shoes without falling off the couch, which has happened to me from having a seizure, falling off a couch. But those little tiny things that people don't even think about, like the going back to the coffee thing, of making sure you have ice right by so you can put some ice in there to cool it down enough so that if I did have a seizure and it throws in my face, I don't burn myself.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many things you have to stop and relearn and rethink.
Yeah. I mean, what got you to even going down that road of gratitude? Like what did how did you even get there?
I don't know, I'll tell you honestly, I don't have an answer for that. It was just other than there's a lot of things like it goes back to my past too. Like back before 2007 when I was severely addicted to drugs, which I still don't know how I managed to stop. But when I overdosed in 2007 and they pronounced me dead, that was pretty much my wake up point. And people are like, "Oh, that's what caused your epilepsy." And that's been proven over and over again that it's not, it has anything to do with my epilepsy. But waking up and realizing across the room's a body bag
Mm.
is mind altering to say the least. Um, it was really screwed up. Like it wasn't necessarily like they were about to put me in there right then on the spot, but they knew that I was going down that path, I guess, and they had it ready.
Yeah.
But they said I was down for close to 2 minutes, and like the nurses were all looking at me like I remember being awake enough for the nurses to look like, oh my God, his heart's beating,
Wow.
and I felt the last shock as they zapped me back, and they cracked two of my ribs as they were doing CPR and stuff, and waking up to all that, like I didn't wake up when they were doing CPR, but I woke up to the last shock, and I remember feeling that pain. But when I really realized I needed to get sober,
Yeah.
and I mean, I was doing cocaine and methamphetamines together, and
Yeah.
that's how insane it could be. And it, when I pulled off sobering up without going through rehab, without going to medications or doctors or anything, I just said, enough's enough.
Yeah.
And I just stopped. I don't know why I stopped fully, but that really was, I think, where the gratitude started.
Yeah. Well, bro, that's a miracle moment, and man, I didn't know if I was I didn't know if we were going to go here or not, but um, my mother, who was living on the south side of Chicago, she had me when she was 15, and she was partying and living a life full of everything and everything. Um, just a week ago, I reviewed again her death certificate because it would have been 38 years ago that she passed, and she passed on a Super Bowl weekend, and it shows exactly the two drugs that you mentioned. It was coke and meth, and lights out. You know, I don't know exactly how it happened. I just remember going to the funeral as a 7-year-old boy, and that being the last time. And so to hear you,
Sorry about that.
yeah, I mean it's real, and it's real stuff that happens, and you have to either look at those moments and say, this is a problem that I've had, or pity me, or I need to, that's why I am the way I am. Or you can look at it similar to what you said, and it's a wake up, and it's pain that you use for the purpose that you have now. And I believe that it's power in the pain. I know people don't want to hear that and say that, but every time I hear you talk, Ryan, there's an immense amount of pain, drills in your head, seizures, all of those things affecting all of those moments in your life. And yet, I want to get to this part here in particular. because you're walking through this divorce, and you've got a young boy that you love and you care for, and you know that you're selling the house, you're liquidating assets to be able to just live your life. And in the middle of that, I think this sort of intersects with how I, you know, found you. Was I found some of the stuff that you were creating online, and I guess the question I had for you, dude, was in this, and Dad's listening, man. What drove you then to say, I need to create more revenue? How do I do it?
Realizing, really, I can't, realizing I'm 50 years old now,
Yeah,
but realizing I've been working since I was 13 going on 14, making other people rich, so to
yeah,
speak, working for other people. And with the epilepsy and with the stuff I've been through, I don't want to say like, where's my piece of the pie, so to speak, but it's more, I want to find a stable way of where I can generate revenue that I don't have to worry about the medical side of things. I don't have to worry about paying for rent.
yeah.
And hopefully I never have to go through those types of brain surgeries because that without insurance would have been $600,000, which American insurance is nuts, but that's another story.
That's another story. Yeah.
It's realizing in this day and age, there's so many things you can do, especially with the dawn of social media and using things with AI, which is getting bigger and bigger. There's so many little things you can do that you can, as far as for generating revenue, that you can do that won't take away from you as a dad, won't take away from you as a, and it only takes an hour or two a day to learn. And that's the biggest thing is I needed to find something that I could be there as much as I could for my son, but how could I do that without going to a traditional school?
Yeah.
How could I do that without getting a second job? Because the biggest issue is that I saw was the only other choice I had was to do just that, is get a second job or get a weekend job, and then I would never see my son.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And getting the second job really was pretty much off the bat, like, no, that's not going to happen, especially with the epilepsy.
Yeah.
Um, so I had to find something that was, I don't like to use the word easy, but easy, so to speak, or simple enough to put into motion, put into plan, and it's just a matter of simple step one, step two, step three. Just follow this plan, and it could generate the revenue.
Yeah. Let me jump back in here because I don't think I know this from a previous chat that we have, but I don't think most divorced dads that are listening understand the um the time agreement that you have with your son and why. Can you share a little bit about what that's like for you and what divorce has then done to in that process for you? How much time you're seeing your son?
Absolutely. My soon-to-be ex-wife is forcing me to only allow me to see my son twice a month. So one overnight every other weekend. So I don't get to see him as much as I want to see him. And
Because if you were living together, it would be every day.
it would be every day. It would be every day that would be seeing him. And there's no reason why it couldn't be 3 weekends a month. There's no reason why it couldn't be like a Friday, Saturday agreement. And I get the factor with me not being able to drive that I can't get him to school. I can't get him to necessarily to the bus stop. I understand that. And I can't get him to the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, whatever they're called these days. Um, at the same time, she's setting up all these extracurricular activities without even talking to me about, and all these other little things that I can't get to because of my condition.
Yeah.
But going back to the time thing, 2 days out of the 2 days out of the month is just wrong
Yeah.
in so many levels. It's absolutely wrong. And I've talked to a couple other dads that they're like, dude, we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
And it's the courts in general do that to dads, from what I understand.
Yeah.
I know here in Florida that they're changing the laws. I don't understand exactly where or what, but having to fight to see your kid, if you really want to see your kid, don't give up on your kid.
Yeah.
And giving up on your kid is worse than giving up on yourself, pretty much. And your kid, from what I know, your kids will always need you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is one thing that even though I might be bedridden for a couple days or whatever, I'll still do whatever I can to try to be there for my kid. I'll have him climb in bed with me and hang out and like, let's do your math problems here,
Yeah.
which that's that's what being a dad does. I mean, like you do whatever you can to be there for your kid.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, and I think we is that because of the condition that you're in, there's maybe some safety issues, some safety ideas, as well as this driving component, which has created this narrative that going from 100% of time with your son to you know I don't know 10% of that time because of those conditions. That is now what divorce is happening to you in this situation. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's throw this. I was just thinking about this now. Let's throw this out, Ryan. Let's say you've got Jeff Bezos money. Let's just
Jeez.
let's just say we got Jeff Bezos money. What would that change? What would you do? What could you do?
It would be a, it would be that would be a whole different realm of things because I could I could have teachers come to the school or come to the house and teach my kid from there. I could take my kid or my son. I could take him traveling around the world with medical personnel with me
Yeah.
and not have to worry about, oh, what's going to happen if I have a seizure here? What happens if I don't have the right medication? Now, there's still like, even if you're Jeff Bezos or whatever, there's still countries in the world where it's legal to kill people with seizures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There, until the mid 70s, there were still laws in the United States and many states that forced people with seizures to be sterilized.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't matter how much money you had. If you had a seizure, you were going to get sterilized. But if I had Jeff Bezos' money, like those types of things of like education wouldn't be an issue.
Sure.
Being able
Get a
to
driver, maybe.
get a personal driver,
Get someone in the house with you.
have people being able to clean the house or having people to watch over not only me but my son.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't like want somebody to be like raising my son. Like I don't want to like a nanny raising my son. I
No,
want to
no,
be
no. No, it sounds like to me you then have the help that you need to be able to offset the concerns of the mother and anybody else that would feel like that you would, could be a problem with a young child.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
So you got drivers, you've got someone there in the house with you helping, you've got all that managed, you got the ability to kind of move around and get around. What would that feel like, dude?
That'd be that'd be the perfect life for me. It
Yeah.
would be like, I mean, it's, and I wouldn't say the perfect life, but I should say it would be the best scenario possible
Yeah.
for my situation.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, and then we'll start to wind this down. I know you got some time constraints, some things today. I guess there's a lot of guys that are listening that I talk to that, they're wanting to obviously, they're trying to figure out cash flow, revenue, different things like this. Why do you think so many dads freeze instead of learning a new skill?
They're scared. They don't. There's a couple different things. One, they're scared. The other thing of the time what they think is going to be a time constraint.
Yeah.
They don't know how quickly that can be learned. Um, and the other thing is, and I love this one. It's called analysis paralysis, and that's looking over to way too many things and not knowing which decision, which path to go down. And that one is really the big one for a lot of dads, let alone a lot of people,
Yeah.
is just thinking too much and just instead of taking that next step.
Yeah. One of the things that you're obviously going through, and I think you're, sharing just the brevity of life, that each day is so valuable to you. And I think one of the things that I hear a lot as well, Ryan, is so many dads are on the other side of that, thinking they've got all this time ahead of them. And I think the tough moment for you is that it's hard what you're going through because there is such an urgency and such a time constraint for you. And I love you just to share about your time constraint being something that has caused you probably to take action.
And I touched on it briefly, is the with having epilepsy, and it's a very rare thing to happen, but there's a thing called SUDEP or sudden death by epilepsy, and that basically your heart skips a beat.
Yeah.
Most of the time, what happened when you're sleeping, but your heart skips a beat but doesn't start back up,
Yeah.
and it's lights out. So when you are in my situation where you have such a weird medical condition where people don't fully understand it, and there's no medications that are working, there's no surgeries that are working, you got people depending on you, your children depending on you. There's not enough time in the world to do anything.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I don't know when the next breath is going to be my last. So I have to take each moment and go, okay, what can I do to make sure he's okay?
Yeah.
What can I do because he is the number one thing? Like doing things like learning about revocable trust, learning things about probate, learning about trust funds, and learning about all these little extra things and like how to set these little things up, which in reality only took me a weekend to figure out how to set it up. And was people are like, oh my God, how much did that cost? It cost me $400. And with an attorney, probably cost a thousand. It probably cost 1,000, but that's you could do it on your own within it by for under 400 for all these things. And these simple things would protect your kids in the event of something happening. And when you're facing a situation like I am, you have to stop and go, well, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. what else? And you go down the checklist of life, like, okay, grandma, grandpa passed away. What went through their life? Okay, how do I get through that? Or like you go through, okay, the wife left, and you know that you want to make sure that I'll never speak with another dad or anything like that, but you want to make sure that they're okay for the most part. Primarily, your children are okay, and you need to see what can you do as a dad, because even if you're not living with them, what can you do to protect them?
Yeah.
How do you educate them to learn about it on their own? Like, I'm teaching my son about the digital marketing side. I'm teaching him how to handle himself with the epilepsy, like he did with the police that I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. I'm teaching him how to handle himself physically, how to do exercise. I'm teaching him how to eat properly and how to. I went actually became a certified nutritionist so I could learn myself. But taking all these extra things, it sounds insane to a lot of people, but
Sounds intentional, bro.
it's all an intentional plan because I don't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
an hour from now.
Yeah. What are you most proud of, Ryan, as a dad right now, today? What are you most proud of?
Really, that going besides just having a son,
Yeah.
seeing everything I told him and that I've taught him come to fruition that night when I had that seizure and he held himself together.
Yeah.
That was as scared as he was because I know he was crying because I mean I'm his dad, but he held it together enough to tell the police. He basically like gave the police a middle finger. I was like, stop what you're doing because you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And knowing that he could handle that, it was just okay. He's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What a huge moment, dude. I think here, in addition to that, I want you to share about what you think. You've found this path of creating more revenue, and you're on that path. I guess, there's dads that need encouragement, in this area as well, of what to do and what to find, and, analysis paralysis and all that jazz. I guess for you, because you're building out this, business of what that looks like, maybe just tell the guys what it is. I know it's a fluent mystique, what it is, and what kind of dad do you think that type of business is good for, and who's not good for it?
It's anybody that's expecting an overnight $1 million revenue. It's not for them.
Everybody on the internet.
The,
Everybody on the internet.
everybody that expects them to be getting prepped and being like
Yeah.
it's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna get billions of dollars coming in, or like these crazy OnlyFans girls that are making millions of dollars. It's for people that are looking for a solid, steady revenue, and it's the same thing with learning about like simple things with like stock trading
Yeah.
and and how to hold on to things, especially like learning about dividends, which I'm not going to go into that whole bit because that'd be like 3 hours of conversation. um, it's the great thing about the internet, especially like Instagram, is you can do things like what I'm doing for the most part, which is called theme pages, where you don't necessarily have to show your face.
Hmm.
You spend an hour and a half, 2 hours a day piecing together a couple interesting clips, and next thing you know, you got 70,000, 80,000 views.
Hmm.
And you get people like, well, what is this about? And you're educating them as it's building up. And Yes, you can do it showing your face and you can talk about people as you do. But for people that, like for my situation where I'm in the hospital a lot,
Hmm.
not having to show my face and being able to do like 10, 15 days of content ahead of
Yeah.
time, I can be in the hospital for a week and I don't have to worry about it because it's all been posted. But that information's still going out there and people are still sending me, not sending me, but they're still buying the products or they're still
Yeah.
interested on how to get into this information.
Yeah. Tell me, how long did it take you to be able to kind of start, get going, and land your first deal?
When I first started, I really, this is a rarity because for some reason in 3 months when I first started Affluent Mystique, I don't fully know why, but I went from zero. I literally from August 2024 to October, I went from zero to 130,000 followers, which that doesn't normally happen.
No, it does not, my friend.
um, but there's people out there that have 1,000 followers or even like 500 followers that are making money. The average person, though, if they follow the steps and they follow the path,
Yeah.
they can make their first. They can make the. I don't ever promise anything. I don't guarantee anything, but they can make the first money within the first week, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like me, I made my first deal in 3 days,
Yeah.
which that blew my mind that I was able to do it that quickly.
Yeah.
And
Is
it
it
wasn't.
getting is it getting easier or harder for you?
The more I do it, the it's getting easier.
Yeah.
Um, I just actually last night I just set up on Beacons. I just set up a couple PDFs so that one being a freebie, like little guide type thing,
Yep.
and it's a simple step by step, like this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
But if you want to take it to the next step, you can set up a call with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and no, it doesn't cost 10 tons of money. Yeah, there's coaches out there that'll charge you 10, $15,000 for these crazy things or these one-on-one courses. Like I spent $30,000 between three or four separate coaches, and I don't have 30 to $40,000 to show for it. It just went out the window. Um, it wasn't about like people, coaches not showing up or not paying attention, or so you got to watch out for those type of guru type people.
Yeah.
I tell people all that all the time. Um, to number one, watch out for that. But really, it does. You can. The sky's the limit on what you do. It's a matter of consistency,
Yeah.
and people are like, "Oh, I don't have the skills for it." You learn the skills,
Yeah.
and consistency builds those skills.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good, dude. Brian, I just wanna let's be mindful of our time and everything. And I just want to acknowledge you, dude. I want to acknowledge you with everybody listening and what you've done, what you've shared, the journey that you've been on, dude. It's unique. You're one of one. And I want to acknowledge you showing up. Um, I want to acknowledge you for being a great dad. I want to acknowledge you for um doing hard things. Because I don't think I think most dads really could even fathom not having a vehicle to go somewhere. I don't think most, I mean, dads could understand that even though you can have your child with you, that, you're working on a situation where, he's only there a couple days a month. And so I want to acknowledge your grit and your drive and your consistency of what you're doing, of taking a leap. Last night on our school call, I went through the hero's journey with the dads. And, I liken it to Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, where his the very first one that was made, and his family gets, you know, deleted, and he's faced with this thing in his heart of, do I go for what I feel is in my heart, or do I stay put in this sort of ordinary life, man? And you've crossed over, you've moved into a direction that life has created you to be urgent. And I want to acknowledge that, because I think there's dads that are out there that are, they're waiting for the perfect conditions, man, the perfect wave, the perfect moment, the sun to be perfectly shining, for them to have all of these things. And yet in the middle of this, you're showing up and you're just taking that next right step. And for those of the dads that have daughters, you know that I mention this frequently, and you probably watch Frozen a million times. And there's a line in there that says, just do the next right thing. And that's what I want to just implore and encourage dads that are listening is, you know, to do the next right thing. And just like we're hearing from Ryan. And so, you know, I want you guys to know that you don't need to be healed to be useful. You don't need to be perfectly healthy to be present. You don't need certainty to build again. The constraints don't disqualify you, they actually clarify you. And if there's something that I've heard and acknowledged even Ryan's story, is that that urgency, that brevity of life has actually brought an immense intentionality and clarity for his life. And that's what I'm always looking to do with the dads that I talk to, is to sort of tie them up and bring them in there. And so there's two things. One is, those of you that feel like you need this extra outlet, there's something to do. I'd encourage you to check out Ryan's stuff, Affluent Mystique, and the link will be in the show notes about that. And look and do something rather than analysis paralysis. Take responsibility for what you can still control. Learn something, build something. Um, Lastly, is there anything else, Ryan, that you want to share about how people can find you?
You can find me under TikTok. You can find me on YouTube. But Affluent Mystique's the best place to find me. You can always, and people can always message me there, and or through SM that you can always hit me there as well on school. Um, but really, don't give up.
Yeah.
Just every day, just take that next step, and always know that there's somebody out there that's, whether they're there every day, somebody's out there, they're looking out for you one way or another. They're looking for you. Just reach out. Don't think you're doing it by yourself.
I love that, dude. Those of you, again, lastly, if you haven't subscribed, I know 30% of you haven't. Subscribe, leave a review, and I'll tell you why. Because every time you do, the algorithm goes crazy, and you're literally helping another dad find something, find support, find an inspiration, find a motivation, find a channel, find a pathway. So if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't written a review, please do that. If you haven't jumped into Divorced Dads of America, jump in there. If you're looking for, you know, some of these tools and things like that, Ryan's jumped in our school group, and it's been an honor to have him. And if you're looking for tools, frameworks, brotherhood systems, like no more BS, no more bad belief systems, I just encourage you to jump in and do something today that's going to change your life for tomorrow and the next generation. You know, our goal is 1 million dads to transform, rebuild their lives in the next generation. I believe it's going to change the way this country is, and I believe the world is, and how dads are, and not just for them, but for their kids. So thanks for being here. Love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless you.